Well, welcome in everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I am your host, Benjamin Kennedy, coming to you late night here, about 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are going to talk about the Seattle Kraken, see what their season has in store out there in the Pacific Northwest. Before we get into the Kraken, though, I do have some thoughts coming out of yesterday's presser with Don Sweeney, Boston Bruins general manager, and just wanted to share a couple of my thoughts about it. Really, this is all geared kind of around Jeremy Swayman and all that conversation. After that press conference was completed, you go on a social media and you just hear all the chatter about how this is Don Sweeney's fault and he should be fired and you should just pay him. And guys, let's just remember one thing here. It takes two to tango. This is a negotiation. There's two sides to this, okay? Swayman's agent, Lewis Gross, he's very notorious, very well known for dragging things out, fighting for his client. And hey, I'm all for that. Fight for your client. For Swayman, go get the bag. I have no problem with that. But let's just remember, this is the same agent who represented Torrey Krug. How did that work out for Boston? How did that work out? So you just have to take a breath. It's not all on Don Sweeney. This is not all his fault. Um, I did hear some comments yesterday from some other media people that were talking about how well Sweeney said that Swayman was withholding services, and that's not at all the language that Sweeney used in that press conference yesterday. It complete misrepresentation of how that went. What he actually said is that Swayman is rightfully so not in camp without a contract. And most players won't be in camp without a contract. And Sweeney seemed to be like, yeah, I get it. He's not here. Disappointed that meaning Sweeney, hasn't gotten the contract done, but feels confident he's going to get it done. And they're going to get it done. Um, yeah, I know, right? He threw out that December 1st timeline. It's going to get done well before that. I expect it done in a few days. Listen, the team dealt with this with Charlie McAvoy. They got that one done. Carlo got done. David Pasternak, that led into a training camp. Remember, it's gonna get done, guys. The money's there. 8.6 million plus under the cap. Just like I said in July, just like I said in August, it's gonna get done. It's gonna get done. Um, I did find some of the comments from Sweeney going after like spitting chicklets and Paul Bissonnette pretty hilarious and Biz Nasty, of course, responding on Twitter X. I thought that was a lot of fun. You can go check all that out. But anyway, camps, of course, are open. If you want to learn more about what's going on down at Warrior, down at the Bruins training camp, go check out my guy, Tom Kaladi, and I'll leave his Twitter handle down below. He is our Black and Gold Productions Bruins guy, covering all things Boston Bruins. I will, like I said, I'll leave his info down below. Go give him a follow. Go check out his content. Doing excellent work, getting after it. So good there. So anyway, let's turn the page, everybody. Let's talk about the Seattle Kraken, starting with head coach Dan Bleisma, veteran coach here, 565 games coached in the league, has a 320, 190, and 55 record, 650 winning percentage, of course, Stanley Cup winner. All my dear friends out in Pittsburgh will remember 2008, 2009. I won that Stanley Cup. Went to Buffalo, of course, after that. Didn't go so well there. And had been coaching down at Coachella Valley, the AHL affiliate for Seattle over the last couple of years. Um, brings over Jessica Campbell to be an assistant coach for him. Jessica worked with him down there at Coachella Valley. She is the very first female assistant coach in the NHL. So good on her for earning that right, and just great on Dan for thinking outside the box. We need to see more of this. I think we will. I can't wait to see how Jessica performs. And you know what? I hope they do well. I hope she does well. I'd love to see her be a head coach someday. That would be just fantastic to see that. Let's all cheer for that. Let's all cheer for that. Talk about salary cap. Yeah, they don't have much left. They spent the bag this July. They literally have $4,286 left under the cap. So, um, does that buy you a parking spot in downtown Seattle? I'm not even sure they can buy a parking spot with that. But 21 active roster spots filled. They have a couple more spots to fill there. There'll be some movements and things they'll have to maneuver to make that happen, but they'll get there. First round in the draft this season. Of course, they didn't make the playoffs, so they had the number 8 overall pick. They take center Berkeley Catton, uh, 18-year-old Canadian kid, played in the WHL last season, uh, played in 68 games, and just had a monster season, 54 goals, 62 points for 116 points total. Um, awesome season. Top 10 pick, obviously 18. He's going to, I think, believe he's going back to the WHL next season. And so it'll be a couple of years, but I think very exciting draft pick there for Seattle. See how that goes. Looking at their season a year ago, coming off their first playoff appearance prior year, they do finish 34, 35, and 13, 81 points, good for sixth in the Pacific. Of course, they missed the playoffs in year three by 17 points. So we're not able to follow up that playoff appearance from year two, but um, yeah, we'll see how this goes here in year four, right? But looking at their team stats, there's a very clear delineation of why, like why they didn't make the playoffs a year ago. Goals for average, they were at 2.61, 29th in the league. Sorry, you don't make the playoffs when you're scoring 2.61 goals a game and ranked 29th in the league. You just don't. Defensively, though, their goals against was at 2.83, good for ninth in the league. So despite them being so low on goals for, they were only a minus 18 in the goal differential throughout the year. So when you talk about 82 games, that's actually not awful. When you think about being 29th in the offense. Power play was 17th in the league at 20.7%. Their PK was uh, 78.8. And that's good for 20th. So 17th there, ranked in the power play, and 20th in the PK. Face-off circle, they were ranked 25th at 47.5. So a little bit of a struggle there on the dot as well. Course skaters, number of guys to talk about here. Forward Jared McCann, uh, 80 games played for him, 29 goals, 33 assists for 62 points. Oliver Bjorkstrand played the whole season, 82 games, 20 goals, 39 assists for 59 points. Defenseman Vince Dunn played in 59 games, so missed a few there. 11 goals, 35 assists for 46 points. Veteran forward Jordan Ellerby, 78 games, 17 goals, 27 assists for 44 points. Eli Tolvanen, forward, played 81 games, 16 goals, 25 assists, 41 points. We'll talk about him a little bit more later. And forward, Massachusetts guy, Matty Beniers, 77 games played, 15 goals, 22 assists, 37 total points. Goaltending. Interesting category for them. Joey Decord got into 50 games last year, had a 19, 18, and 11 record, 2.46 goals against, so not bad there. 916 save percentage, so metrically not awful there for Decord. Philip Grubar got into 36 games, had a 14, 16, and 2 record, 2.85 goals against, and an 899 save percentage. So goaltending should be interesting. Grubar had been kind of the starter. We know he dealt with injuries and whatnot. Decord kind of stepped up, played well. So yeah, they have decent, decent tandem there in that. Key additions for the season. Very well known names here. Defenseman Brandon Montour coming over from the Stanley Cup champion of Florida Panthers where he played in 66 games a year ago, 8 goals, down a little bit from prior year, 25 assists, 33 points. And center Chandler Stevenson coming over from Vegas, where he played in 75 games at 16 goals, 35 assists, 451 points. They also add defenseman Josh Mahura uh, to the team as well. So with Montour and Stevenson, two former Stanley Cup winners, uh, good culture guys to bring into the room. I listen. They spent a lot to bring those guys in, but I think two good gets there for the Kraken. Departures: defenseman and Biddeford, Maine native Brian Dumoulin heads out of town, heads off to Anaheim, and forward Thomas Tatar, I believe he ends up back in New Jersey where he had played before, so part of that revamped New Jersey Devils team. This is just another team that, as I've been thinking about Seattle, I kind of have a hard time figuring out where they're going to end up this coming season. I can see them grabbing a wild card spot. I can also see them finishing, fifth or sixth in the division and out of the playoffs entirely. I just don't really exactly know for sure. I do know one thing, however, that 2.61 goals for will just simply put not get it done this coming season. Offensively, they need some guys to step up and toss some pucks in the net. They just do. They had too many forwards that fell off their goals, totals from the year prior. You're looking at guys like Manny Beniers, right? Like he went from 24 goals down to 15. Yanni Gord, yes, yeah, he's 32 years old, right? So he's a little bit more of a veteran, but he's over the last 3 years gone from 21 goals to 14 goals to 11 goals a year ago. So he's dropped off by 10 over those couple of years. Even McCann, uh, came off a career year a year ago, 2 years ago, 40 goals in 22-23, was down to 29 a year ago. So, guys like a Borkstrand, can he elevate to 30 goals? Can he be a 30 goal guy? He was 28 goals back in Columbus in 21-22, so he was close. Can they get him to 30 goals? And then there's Tolvanen, 16 goals each of the last 2 seasons. I think he's a player that could probably elevate. Can he get to that 25, 30 goal mark? They might be looking for someone like him to bring that up. I think he has the ability and the talent to do it. They just need more from the room. Simply put, they just need more goals, right? I mean, they just simply do. Easier said than done. Yes, I know. Let's talk about Shane Wright. Some may say he was a surprise drop to that number 4 selection back in the 2022 NHL draft. Still only 20 years old and plenty of runway to become a solid NHL scorer. Last year in Coachella Valley, he played in 59 games. He had 22 goals, 25 assists for 47 points. So very good, productive season at him. Got into 8 games up in Seattle. Listen, he had 4 goals and 1 assist, 5 points in 8 games for him. So again, solid production. Is he ready? Is he ready for that full time role at the NHL level? I feel like just looking at those numbers down the American League a year ago, he might be ready. I feel like he may be ready for that third line center or third line wing type spot with this club. I can't see him centering a fourth line. I think if he's projecting for a fourth line at the NHL, I think he probably just goes back to the American League. But I just don't think fourth line is really his game or his skill set. Um, but I do think that he could potentially slot in behind Matty Beniers and Stevenson as maybe a third line center. We'll see. He does have his coaching staff from Seattle, or coaching staff in Seattle from Coachella Valley, I should say. And I think those relationships really do mean something and should help his growth and his development. But, like any young player, he's going to have to earn the spot through training camp. And I'm really hoping he does, guys. I really do. I'd like to see this kid at the NHL level. I'd like to see what he has, what he can bring to the table. There's no doubt he's most likely playing with that chip on his shoulder. Going back to that draft night a couple of years ago, I mean, we all remember that look he gave when he finally got picked fourth, and his hometown Montreal Canadiens passing him by. But that chip on the shoulder could be very, very good thing for Seattle long term. looking at July 1, Seattle definitely spent the bag on Montour and Stevenson this season. I do like both players. Of course, they bring that cup pedigree, that cup winning experience into the room, which is something this team doesn't really have a lot of entering now their fourth season of existence. I expect Stevenson to be fairly consistent from what we've seen in the past. Middle line type center who can be versatile. They'll be around that 15 to 20 goals and probably right around 55 to 65 points for the season. I am curious, however, about Montour and how he fits into this system, leaving what was, I think, a very solid defensive structure for him in Florida. He was a perfect fit for what the Panthers were doing down there. He's now entering his 30s. Can he repeat that effort? Can he work his way into this new structure? I think he can. Veteran guy, um, and I think he's going to add. I think a good fit here. I think he'll be a good fit, I should say, for a team that was ninth in goals against average last year. We just know, when we look at Florida how just structurally sound they were defensively, and there were some questions about can Montour really bring that to Seattle or not. I guess we'll have to wait and see. The tandem in net should be fine. I think they should give the team a chance to win most nights. But my one big question about this team is, do they have that team speed that they had a couple years ago? I just remember year two of their existence, how fast they were, how fast they skated. I know they came up here to Boston and they beat us up 3-0 one night, and they were just zooming, and Boston had no answer, right? They had a little bit of that in their game a couple years ago. I'm not sure if you saw that speed a year ago. And I would love to hear from Kraken fans or anybody that follows the team a little more closely to chime in on this one. I'm on the East Coast, so these games start at 10:30. So I can't say I watch a ton of Kraken games. Um, I'd love to hear from you guys what you think about their team speed. It was a difference maker, I think, for them when they made the playoffs. Uh, where are they, this year with that? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But big picture, listen, they need to score more goals, right? They just do. They need to take a larger offensive approach to this upcoming season. It's going to be very curious to see how Coach Blasma structures the lines and manages their offensive attack and strategy. For me, they're in that murky middle, right there. Are they with Gollum in the caves, or are they having second breakfast with the hobbits? Like I'm not really sure, right there. I'm just in that murky middle, man. I'm not really sure where to put them. There's just that West and that Pacific, and it's just a lot of teams that they're gonna have to be kind of tripping over. I do think they passed Calgary without any problem. My real question is, can they pass the LA Kings? I they might be able to. I think the Kings might be a little vulnerable this year. Um, Something to watch, something to just be mindful of, and maybe they can grab that playoff spot. I just can't imagine that all 8 of those Western teams from a year ago that made the playoffs make it again. I do think there'll be some sort of change, and Seattle might be one of those teams that disrupts that a little bit. I also think they have to, watch out for St. Louis, in the Central for wild card positioning. They might be a team that fights for that. But regardless, guys, they gotta get their scoring up. But it should be a lot of fun to watch. So getting closer, guys. It is, September 19th. We are just, what, 3 weeks away ish from puck drop here for the NHL. Cannot wait to get it going. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the support on this channel. If you do like what you're hearing, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. Do appreciate that. And until next time, be kind. Please show love and God bless.